Hey there, and welcome back to Tim Talks Cooking. Today, we are talking, get this, we are talking Zoodles, my friend. Have you been wondering what the big deal is about these? Actually, I think they're delicious. They are still zucchini. They're not pasta when you get done with them, so you got to kind of keep that in mind. But it's really healthy, really delicious replacement, I think. And depending on the sauce you put on these bad boys, you're really going to enjoy this, I think. I'm going to show you how to cook them right so they're not overcooked and so they'll be delicious anytime you want to have them. Let's get started. How on earth, you say, am I going to turn a zucchini into something that resembles noodles? Well, there are actually a couple of ways you can do that. I'm going to show you two ways here. But you got to start off by preparing your zucchini. This I've washed and dried already. I'm going to cut off the top. And I'm also going to cut off the blossom end here. And then I'm going to cut this in half. And if you're thinking, is that going to be too short for noodles? No, it's really not, because in the first case, what we're going to do is we're going to use a device called a spiralizer. And I have one right here. This one I found actually by researching spiralizers on America's Test Kitchen. Oh my God. This particular model comes with a blade that is designed to make sort of a smaller zoodle or a smaller sort of vegetable noodle out of this. And it's got a couple of parts that work together. I've cut this into as cylindrical a piece as I can. I'm going to insert it in this end here. The crank goes here, and basically, and it's attached to the table with some little vacuum things. So just push it on through. And as you can see, as we go here, noodles come out the other end. There you go. At the end of each piece we do, we're going to end up with a bunch of noodles and then this piece here that's left over. It's just sort of the hapless end of what has occurred here. I'm actually going to eat this anyway because I'm not serving this to the Queen of England or trying to make the cover of Bon Appetit, so we're going to reserve that. We're actually going to eat it. And on to the next piece. And here's what you end up with. You're going to end up with some very long strands, some not so long, some very long strands of zucchini cut in these sort of curlicue shapes. Pretty neat, right? Huh? What I do with this is I cut it off at the very end there, and I cut it in half. Like that. Throw it on in there. No one will ever know. These, I just slice them, toss them on in. I don't like there to be any waste or any more than absolutely necessary, so I don't mind if there's a few irregularities in my dish. This is going to be delicious. You may want to cut some, or break, like I just did there, some of the longer pieces. They can be a little sloppy to eat, and we don't really want that necessarily. We don't want them too short either. Again, we're trying to sort of imitate pasta if we can in a way, but we don't want this to be uncomfortable to eat, right? So there we go. I think we're pretty good there. That's really cute, isn't it? All right, great. Now, our next step here is to salt the zucchini. You know the zucchini is full of water, right? The way to get that water out of there to make these noodles is to give it a good salting. I'm going to just add here, probably a good half to a whole teaspoon of salt. And notice that I've also made a pretty modest portion of Zoodles here. This is actually, today I'm having lunch by myself at home, and so this is one serving. One of the great things about Zoodles is you can eat a lot of them, right? This is going to make a really, really generous portion. Anyway, so here, I'm going to make sure the salt gets evenly distributed, and I'm going to leave these set for about half an hour to an hour, or even a little more. We're going to let the zucchini juices collect in the bottom of this bowl here. So here our zucchini is salted, and we're going to leave it to set there and to release its liquids for about a half an hour to an hour. One thing I might note here too is when I make this dish, I only make as much as I'm going to eat in the meal. The reason for this is that when we cook this, it's very delicate. We have to be careful not to overcook it. Zucchini tends to turn to mush if you cook it too much, and when you have to reheat it after it already having been heated, it's going to be mushy. It's not going to be the same, and you'll see with the dish that I've got in mind for this today that that's going to be undesirable. So I just do my zucchini as I eat it. And so here we're just going to wait a little bit. Patience is a virtue. And we'll be back and we're going to make some delicious noodles in no time. The other way that we can make noodles, and again we've got a zucchini that's been washed and dry, cut off both ends. And in this case we can make wider noodles, is to use a simple potato peeler. Basically, just bring it in there, draw it towards you. Maybe not for that particular piece, that's just peeled. But what you're going to end up with here are these gorgeous sort of tagliatelle-like strips of zucchini. And we're going to salt these just like we did the other ones. And look at that. Beautiful, right? Naturally, the thinner zoodles are going to give up their water first. And what I've got here is I've got 2 layers of paper towel. And I'm going to lay these out. They don't have to be perfectly laid out or anything, but our goal here is to absorb the moisture as much as possible. So I am going to try to sort of scatter them fairly in one layer more or less. I'm going to fold this over and just pat them dry. This is also going to absorb some of the salt that's in there, although we want that. We want that salt flavor, absolutely. Now, these are going to continue to release some liquid during the cooking, and that's okay. We can just drain that off before we serve them. And there we have it. For a vegetarian sauce, what I'm going to do here is heat up some of my keto pizza sauce, which I use as an all-purpose red sauce and everything. And we're going to wait for that to come to a simmer. When it starts to come to a boil, and you can skip this step if you like, but we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of vodka. Stir it in, and we're going to let that heat through, and we're going to let it come to a boil again so it boils away all of the alcohol. We got it to a good rolling boil here. The alcohol has evaporated. Alcohol evaporates at a fairly low temperature. It's 140 Fahrenheit. Okay, let's stir this. Now here, I'm going to stir in a couple of tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. Doesn't that look great? Maybe just give it a little bit more. And here we've got, really in just nothing flat, a beautiful little vodka cream sauce that will be delicious on our zucchini. Now, again, this is a keto diet, so it's low carb and high fat. To finish this off, let's give it a nice pat of butter. And just let that melt gently in over low heat. And now we're going to heat up the carbonara sauce, and we'll be ready to serve. Aren't these gorgeous? Here we're going to put these in the microwave for about 30 seconds just to barely warm them, and then we're going to cover them with some of that lovely tomato vodka cream sauce and give them a taste. And here they are. You can see they're steamy. We're going to put some of this nice hot tomato vodka cream sauce on. And I think maybe a little Parmesan cheese garnish, and we're ready to go. All right, let's give the tagliatelle a taste. Mix that in a little bit. You can twirl them just a little. That is a delicious cream sauce. I'm loving that. Got a nice tang from the Parmesan cheese, and the vodka, of course, gives it kind of that special tinge. Doesn't really taste like vodka, though. That is just delicious. These zoodles are perfectly cooked. They still have a little bit of crunch in them, so they have a little resistance, but they're warm and soft. And it's pretty good as a pasta replacement. I gotta say, I find this very satisfying. It's just delicious. Now let's try the other dish. As with the tagliatelle, I dried these off with a paper towel, just like I said, and then I put them in the microwave for 45 seconds. And now I'm going to top them with some of this beautiful carbonara sauce. Oh yeah. is just gorgeous. That's going to be tasty. I think a little garnish, and we're ready to go. And now for these Zoodles alla carbonara. Wow, that looks great. And I know that sauce is really going to be a knockout. Up. Ha 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 ha. Twirl them around your fork, just like spaghetti. Mmm. Mmm, man, this is fabulous. Remember, the key is to dry them off before you put them in the microwave and not to cook them for too long. This was like this. You saw the serving size I had, about 1 zucchini made into Zoodles, 45 seconds. Man, that is some good eating. I really love this dish. This is going to make for a great lunch for me today and somebody else. Maybe. Listen, thanks so much for joining us here today on Tim Tom's Cooking. Don't forget, before you go, to share, comment, like, and especially subscribe. Please subscribe. That really helps out my channel. We'll catch you next time on Tim Tom's Cooking.